Good Tuesday to you, everybody. Incom 651. Welcome to week kaboom 6. We are zooming along, man. We are plowing along. That's Sam A. Baker, beautiful state park in the state of Missouri. That's the place that I'm currently calling home. All right, week 6. So this is an 8-week course. So we are, coming around the back stretch and moving in. So before I get to the content of this week for the course, a couple of quick reminders. Should go without saying that phase 3 for your semester project is due tomorrow on the 27th. Okay, so make sure that you get that in, and then we're going to need to schedule your final presentations. All right, now the last day of class for this 8-week is actually on a Saturday, which means we need to have everything wrapped up, finished, and done on a Friday, which happens to be Friday, October 13th. I don't read anything into that. So I will post probably coming next week some time slots, and we only need 3 because there's only 3 groups, for you to schedule your final presentation, your final pitch to me, the representative of the Billy Graham Library, because since the course ends on a Saturday, we need to have everything done and wrapped really by the 12th. And that gives me the 13th to evaluate everything and finish final grades. If you have anything outstanding by way of assignment, if you have, one of our weekly assignments that you haven't completed, please get in touch with me as soon as possible. Okay. If you ask, and if the circumstances seem to be, seem to warrant it, I can work with an extension, except where the end of the semester is concerned, because I don't have any extension to give you. The registrar's office wants the grades like immediately. And that's a hard stop for me by way of deadline that I don't have any flexibility against. All right. So contact me by email. I'm always in during my office hours. If you call, and I've had a chance to speak with a couple of you, if you call and no one picks up, that's me on the other line with somebody else. So you can either, actually it'd be better if you just text me a message and say, hey, just trying to call. This is so-and-so from 651. Could we talk during your office hour? And if it's not, that day's not convenient for you, let me know for my other office hour if it would be convenient or not. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at this week, week 6. What are we doing? Okay. We are going to learn about integrated marketing communication, or so-called IMC. Now, some of you may be saying to yourself, yeah, this is interesting, but I'm not interested in marketing. That's not my thing. Mm-hmm. It should be your thing. I'm looking for a book here that I'm not seeing right away. All right. I'll find it. Anyway, it should be your thing, because where public relations are concerned, in public relations, the heart of public relations is communication, okay, and connection, and not always, but often, persuasion. And persuasion can take a couple of forms. Persuasion can mean convincing a group of people to do something. Say, for instance, last week's exercise in week 4, in which I asked you to talk about strategic partnerships for specific or special publics. Look, let's not fall into the trap of nominalism. Nominalism is the assumption that because you name something, it then becomes that thing. Okay. So if you don't say baby, but if you say product of conception, then it's a non-human, right? That's nominalism, and it goes way back to the philosopher Aristotle from the 4th century BC. But let's not fall into the trap of nominalism, in that if we say key public or strategic public or special public, that it's somehow something different. Okay, this is the terminology that Hayes uses, but it's any group that is outside of sort of the top of the bell curve for the group. Okay. So if you're trying to persuade them to get on board and get connected digitally, and they are by way of habit not connected, because let's say they don't have internet or they don't have broadband in their home, or they may not have a cell phone, right? They see cell phones, they're aware of the internet. I mean, there may be a very small percent of the population. All right, so part of your job in public relations is persuading them to change that habit, disconnection, and adopt the habit of connectivity. So even in the case in which you're not selling something like a product or a service, you're seeking to influence and change behavior. And this is where approaches like integrated marketing communication comes in. And if you look at this week's assignment, okay, so what you're going to be doing is you're reading chapter 13 in Hayes. And then I got a video for you. It's kind of a little cartoony thing about integrated marketing. And what you're going to be doing then, okay, is thinking about how is it that you could use integrated marketing communication strategy to effectively spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, in wherever you live. Okay, your city. I give you, the choice: your city, state, overseas. Okay. Now, interestingly, if you read Scripture, and we should be reading it daily, at least a little bit. All right, you'll find that at the heart of the parables that Jesus uses is the intent, is the point, is the purpose of persuading the listener. And it's interesting because if you read in particular the gospel according to Matthew, there are many instances, especially before, say, chapter 16, chapter 18, in which the apostles, when we talk about Christ and his followers, we've got these sort of three levels of people that are spoken of. The first is the apostles, those who are very close to him. The second is the second is the disciples, and that we get that word from the Greek word, and I'll give it to you in Latin because my Greek is horrible. Discipuli. Those are the learners. This is a group of people that are not with him privately, but are sort of following him around and listening very carefully on a regular basis. The learners, and then there's everybody else. Then there are the masses, and you hear about the masses. You don't hear from them, but you hear about them in, say, the Sermon on the Mount or the feeding of the 5,000, and you say, okay, and this many were fed. Okay, so. But if you read in the Gospel of Matthew, the apostles are asking, well, what is it with these? What do you mean by this parable? Or this story? I mean, like, what are we doing here? Mustard and fish and bread? We're making sandwiches again? What? No, he tells them that he is trying to put the deeper concepts into a frame that the people are going to understand. Okay, that's at the heart of integrated marketing. So when you read about this in Hayes, think about this in the bigger sense rather than just selling toasters. Think about it as a communication technique. So that's what we're doing this week, and that's what I want you to focus on. And then the assignment then is, what kind of integrated marketing communication strategy would you recommend for actively spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ? Now, let me say, I'll do another video about last week 4, and talk about your responses. But let me say this in relationship to this week's assignment. You must bring more detail and specificity to what it is that you're recommending. It's just not enough, folks. And this is not PR, okay? This is not PR when when I'm asking you about, say, how would you connect with those who are digitally disconnected, and you write something to the effects, and I'm just grabbing somebody. I'm not picking on anybody, so I'll withhold the name. Okay, you say you say because okay, it should be no surprise that our homeless veterans are among the digitally disconnected population. Okay, true enough. Homeless individuals often don't have the same access to electronics and things like personal cell phones. Good, is a general statement, true enough. Because of this, there's a disconnect between homeless veterans and certain segments of the media in general. Okay, so that's fine, but you don't need that because you're now just saying the same thing. Okay, and collaborating with nonprofits that specialize in assisting homeless veterans would be a great method for connecting with veterans. Okay, like who? Like what? What nonprofits? And what does that mean? Collaboration. Now, again, I'm not picking on the author from the sentences that I just read, but I got to tell all of you, as graduate students and you're studying PR, you need to move past the catchphrases, collaborating, effective, impact, and get into the specifics. What organizations, what actions? So in writing the prompt for this week, don't tell me that, well, they should use integrated marketing techniques to spread the gospel because people are used to marketing. What techniques? How? I want you to be specific in your recommendation of platforms. That is where, do you mean when you say they should use these, do you mean someone stands out on the corner and yells them into the air? Or do you mean that they open specifically an Instagram account in which they actively seek to connect first by following to develop followers so that they'll be plugged into this platform? And if that's what you mean, why? Because let's say it's a church that has a high percentage of people in the demographic that use Instagram. And if it doesn't, then don't say use Instagram. This is the one assignment that you write for the week. Do your research. Back up what it is that you say by way of platform and process, product, with citations to establish and recognize, and I mean recognize in the sense that we count it as valid data. And it's all over the place. In fact, in most instances, I'm starting to get to the point where, for some of you, there's a pattern of lack of specificity that I'm including links to data, and that the amount of time it took me to find this data, less than minutes. That's you. Right. So for this week's prompt and this week's write-up, I want you to be much more specific. I want citations. And I don't mean just specificity by way of specificity. There has to be a rhyme and the reason. There has to be a logic behind the platforms and the process, the platforms, products, and process, whichever, or combination of all three, that you recommend to get the job done in using integrated marketing communications to spread the gospel. And what I mean by rhyme and reason, not because you say so, not because I say so, but because we have data that indicates that this is effective. That's what we do as communication scholars. Now, I dislike word counts. I think, I may have said that in other videos, but I've opened up. I'm never going to ding you. I mean, if you're giving me 1,000-word write-up, I might, to be, very candid, I might sigh a bit when I see it, but I'm not going to take anything away from you unless the 600 or 700 additional words say nothing. It's just filler. Then it's going to be like, okay, you don't need any of this. But I've opened up the range from 300 to 400 to 300 to 500, assuming that you're going to be making more citations and being specific. So any point that you make, anything that, we should use this process. I need a justification and established a cited justification. And it has to connect to the reality it has to connect to the desired outcome. So if you tell me you're going to reach, let's say 18-year-olds, and your primary focus is going to be Facebook. Well, unless you have a citation for me that says the dominant demographic on Facebook is 18-year-old, don't do that. Okay. So you know what you got to do. All right. So for this week, that's the prompt. That's what we're looking for, and it's in the module, right? You've got phase number 3. I will send out a announcement probably towards the back of this week about scheduling time for your presentation for the final pitch to the Billy Graham Library that will take place in the week of October the 8th. That is that Sunday. So we will have everything wrapped and finished, and then 8 weeks will just flown by like a summer breeze by Thursday, October the 12th. Because Saturday, October the 5th, 14th, we're done. We're out of here. All right, everybody. Have a blessed week. I think about you. I pray about you. If you need to talk, or if there's anything by way of weekly assignment that you missed, you didn't get done, reach out to me. And remember, please email through Canvas. That just helps me keep everything in the same place. That's a big help to me. Okay, everybody. Take care. Have a great week. And I will see you on Canvas. All right. Bye-bye.